The Akita's howl cut through the Brentwood mist at exactly 10:15 p.m., the first witness to a frenzy. On the pavement lay the grisly aftermath of the 20th century's most infamous crime scene. But the true horror wasn't just the violence, it was the proximity. Upstairs, tucked into high thread count sheets, the Simpson heirs were dreaming. For 3 decades, Sidney Simpson has operated as a phantom entity. While the media industrial complex feasted on her father, she became the silent variable, rejecting the reality TV pipeline to become a reclusive real estate mogul in Florida. She hides in plain sight, a void in the paparazzi ecosystem. But total obscurity is a myth. Wait, it gets darker.
A recent insider leak has shattered 30 years of message discipline. This isn't just tabloid gossip, it's a forensic timeline anomaly. The accepted sequence of that night relies on the children sleeping through the chaos, but the new intel suggests the ghost was awake. What she witnessed changes the geometry of the entire investigation. Before we decode the unredacted files, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to support deep dive investigations. Let's begin. Stop fixating on the bloody glove artifact. Most true crime junkies are addicted to the white Bronco spectacle, completely ignoring the core algorithm of the case, the children. Sidney and Justin were never mere bystanders. They were high-value assets, leveraged in a scorched earth war between the Brown and Simpson dynasties.
Imagine the sheer cognitive load. A pre-adolescent observer waking up not to cartoons, but to a world wrapped in forensic caution tape and illuminated by news helicopters. To navigate this high-stress environment, Sidney initialized a radical mental protocol. Clinical psychologists identify this as dissociative survival, but in operative terms, it is a hard drive wipe. She didn't just filter the noise, she corrupted the file. She erased her own history to ensure her internal system didn't crash. But here is the glitch in the matrix.
While the global media apparatus painted her father as a butcher, she was legally mandated to share a breakfast table with him every morning. This engineered a bifurcated reality that defies logic. To the public sector, he is a monster. To her, he is the sole custodial guardian. This created a cognitive dissonance so severe it acts like a psychological IED. She had to love the hand that the world believed held the knife. This tension isn't static, it is a ticking time bomb. And as we are about to witness, even the most advanced mental firewalls eventually fail.
Fast forward. The litigation spectacle concludes, the cameras retreat. Or do they? The Klan executes a geographic reset to Florida, attempting to rebrand as modern real estate moguls. Sidney aggregates a massive Gulf Coast property portfolio, purchasing starter homes through opaque LLC structures. She attempts to become a suburban cipher, boring, invisible, deleting herself from the public narrative. But the algorithm of reality doesn't allow for permanent deletion. Information pivot. There was an incident, a chaotic 911 dispatch. Police body cams capture a high-net-worth individual on the psychological edge. It's Sidney. She isn't the quiet little girl anymore. She is vocalizing raw, unfiltered distress. "You don't know who I am," she screams at the responding officers. But the audience does. This wasn't just a bad day. This was a critical system failure. The hydraulic pressure of maintaining the family secret for decades was finally cracking the foundation. Wait, it gets worse. This wasn't just about cumulative stress disorder. It was about terror, a primal fear that the past was emerging from the shadows to collect a karmic debt. If you are enjoying this deep dive, please hit that like button and subscribe. It helps us uncover more dark truths. Now, back to the mystery. Here is the sharp pivot. The narrative isn't just about the gridiron icon. It's about the socialite ecosystem orbiting him. Enter the reality TV dynasty, the Kardashians.
Robert Kardashian wasn't merely executing legal defense protocols. He was OJ's primary emotional anchor. He carried the infamous garment bag. But there is a persistent viral rumor that refuses to be scrubbed from the collective consciousness. It involves Chloe. It involves paternity metrics. It involves the ultimate biological encryption.
Information pivot. Why upload this data now? Because it decodes the unbreakable omerta. If these two families are not just linked by friendship, but fused by genetic markers, the secrets are double locked behind a DNA firewall. Sydney knows this. She didn't just witness the trial, she was raised inside this dynastic overlap. While the global audience was distracted by court theatrics, Sydney was navigating a domestic web where the lines between friend and family were deliberately blurred. The awful truth isn't just about a forensic weapon. It is about a tangled family tree designed to protect its own root system. Wait, connect the dots.
OJ frequently laughed off these tabloid speculations, but Sydney never laughed. She watched. She operated as a silent data aggregator, mapping the connections the mainstream news cycle missed. This semantic web of relationships explains the silence. No one ever flipped on OJ because this wasn't just a legal team, it was a tribal unit. They couldn't run. They were all standing too close to the reputational blast zone. But money talks, and in this specific case, capital screams. The Goldman family secured a massive punitive damages judgment, effectively placing a lien on OJ's existence. They even seized the rights to the ultimate literary provocation, If I Did It. This wasn't just a memoir, it was a hypothetical murder blueprint. Who authorizes a release like that? A clinical sociopath taunting the victims? Or a father executing a desperate liquidity event to secure funds for his offspring? Information pivot.
Here is the twist the documentaries miss. Sydney and Justin were forced to navigate a high-stakes financial minefield. Every dollar their father generated was being headhunted by forensic accountants. To survive, the family had to construct a fiscal fortress. We aren't talking about simple savings accounts. We're talking opaque LLC networks, cash-intensive operations, and intricate real estate shells. Sydney became the architect of this asset shield. Wait, the math is darker. By facilitating this shadow economy, Sydney made a definitive choice. She picked a side. Actions are louder than words, but transactions are deafening. She didn't need to issue a public statement saying he is innocent. Her ledger entries screamed, "I don't care if he is guilty."
This wasn't just filial duty, it was accomplice economics. She prioritized generational wealth preservation over the moral gravity of the double homicide. That is the hard pill to swallow. The final confirmation. We have reached the narrative terminus. The headline promised a confirmation. Here it is. It is not a dramatic deathbed confession or a leaked audio file. It is something far more chilling. It is radical acceptance. Years ago, a legacy media operative finally tracked Sydney down in St. Petersburg. It wasn't a courtroom, it was a humid Floridian exile. She was walking her dog, attempting to blend into the suburban baseline. The reporter seized the moment and asked the question that has haunted the cultural zeitgeist for decades. Her answer? We don't look back. We don't talk about the past. We live in the now. Sounds peaceful, right? Sounds like a mindfulness mantra? Wrong. Information pivot.
In the brutal calculus of trauma psychology, this isn't peace. This is the pact. By consciously refusing to condemn the act, she confirms the reality of it. This is cognitive partitioning at an elite level. Sydney's statement wasn't a denial. A denial fights back. A denial screams innocent. This was a strategic nullification of history. She confirmed that the love for her father, the patriarchal bond, outweighed the visceral horror of the crime scene. Wait, it gets colder. The awful truth is that Sydney didn't just survive the trauma. She co-signed it. She chose to live with the ghost. She normalized the nightmare. This is the moral event horizon,
that the documentaries are too afraid to cross.
She didn't run from the man who the world believed butchered her mother. She didn't cut ties. She built a domestic ecosystem around him. She looked the apex predator in the eye, saw the monster clearly, and made the ultimate, terrifying declaration: I'm staying. The legacy loop. The O.J. Simpson narrative is frequently categorized as a legacy media tragedy, but when you isolate the daughter's arc, the genre violently pivots. This is psychological survival horror. Sydney proves that the human psyche possesses terrifying radical neuroplasticity. We can adapt to anything, even the unthinkable. Information pivot. We assume truth is a binary legal outcome. Wrong.
The truth isn't a sentence on a page, more a forensic verdict. It is a biosocial reality, lived in the shadow of the knife. Sydney Simpson confirms that genetic allegiance is thicker than systemic justice. By maintaining the familial bond, she demonstrates a chilling biological imperative: survival trumps morality. She didn't just endure the cognitive dissonance, she metabolized it for the sake of kinship preservation. She normalized the monster in the room, and that is the scariest truth of all.